Hello my fellow book addicts, Megan here, and time for another book review. Today I'm going to be talking about Bewitching by Alex Flinn, and this is the second book in the Kendra Chronicles. So this is the sequel to Beastly, though I use that term very loosely. I personally do feel that you can read this book without having knowledge about what happened in Beastly. Like, there's a few mentions to Kyle and the curse that Kendra put on him and whatnot, but that's more or less it. We don't actually see Kyle, we don't see Lindy, or really anyone from the previous book, excluding Kendra, who we actually see a lot more in this book than Beastly, which I liked. We got to see more about Kendra's background, like how she discovered she was a witch and some of the shenanigans that she went through in her youth. And I just thought that was really interesting. Gave her a little more depth and just flushed her out a whole lot more, which I enjoyed. So, like Beastly, this is a fairy tale retelling, imagining, and while Beastly was Beauty and the Beast, as the title suggests, this one is a sort of reimagining of Cinderella. So while we are not following around Kendra and learning about her past, we are focused on Emma, who was our main character. So Emma has learned that her father figure, this man isn't her biological father, though he has raised her as his own. He was married before he married her mother, and he has a daughter from that marriage. And that girl's name is Lizette, and she recently lost her mother, so he is taking her in to raise her. And he has been more or less absent from Lizette's life since she was very young. So they got a little catching up to do. And Emma's mother does not like Lizette. She is worried that her husband will leave her and or totally ignore Emma, and just there is some tension. Emma, on the other hand, is excited. She's getting a sister, and she's hoping that they will be the best of friends. But unfortunately, things don't work out that way. Lizette isn't as sweet as she is trying to portray herself to be, and after a few days, she manages to persuade Emma to cut off the nice, loving relationship she has with their father. And just, my heart went out to Emma so much. And up to a point, I felt I could relate to Emma quite a bit. I have some step-siblings too, 3 of which are stepsisters. One of them is younger than me, and there were some similarities between my younger one and Lizette's. So I felt for her quite a bit, and I could relate a bit as well. Just some of how Lizette acted and how she treated Emma, and just, yeah, some of it was a little close to home. So yeah, I enjoyed this retelling. I actually think I like Bewitching a little bit more than I like Beastly, which is funny because The Tale of Cinderella is probably one of my, I can't say least favorite fairy tales, but it's definitely nowhere near my favorites. But I just find it funny how a lot of these retellings of Cinderella I really, really enjoy. Yeah, there's more that I would like to say, but that's kind of inching in this more spoilery territory. So I'm going to go into a more spoilery section, so if you have not read Bewitching yet, I highly suggest you do so, because it is a really enjoyable book. Like I said, I feel you don't need to read Beastly to enjoy this one. It, I think, will hold up as a standalone just fine. So, spoilers. For a good portion of this book, I thought Lizette was actually supposed to be the more Cinderella-y figure, just with like a few things that were mentioned, and then it's like, wait, that's not right, because our main character is Emma. As cool as it would be to see like things from the wicked stepsister's point of view, I was kind of torn back and forth on which Emma was supposed to be, the evil stepsister or the Cinderella. Which was nice, it kept me on my toes, it kept me engaged, it kept me thinking, but in the end, Emma ended up being our Cinderella. And just, as a person, Lizette, I felt very little pity for, as horrible as that may make me sound. Like, I felt for her losing family members, because losing a family member is not easy. Like, my dad passed away when I was really young, and that sucked, so I can relate to that, I feel for that. But just how horrible of a person she was. I just my sympathy could only go so far because of that. And just the fact that she kept on milking her mother's death in the beginning and then later on in the book to get pity from people just annoyed the ever-loving crap out of me. Like, I cannot stand people who do that. People who milk a tragedy for all the pity that it's worth to manipulate people. It's horrible, and I have no respect for people who do that. And any pity I would have felt for them because of that tragedy, just instantly gone. I have known a few people like that, and it's just like, no, stop that. Yeah, so Lizette I did not like that much at all. I wanted to strangle Emma's boyfriend, what was his name, Warner, so much ever since he met Lizette. Him questioning Emma and then leaving Emma, and then immediately going with Lizette. It's like, dude, what the hell? Like, I can understand not approving and dumping Emma for how she's training Lizette, for how Lizette talks about how Emma and her mom treats her. I can get that to a point. The fact that he never talked to Emma about it and got her side of things is horrible. Even if he didn't know how to handle things and just broke up with her anyway, him immediately going with Lizette's is just, that's a no. That's a no-go. That's not cool. And I just could not understand why Emma would want to get back with Warner, and I am so glad that she did not. Just, it made me so happy when she did not get back with Warner at the end. And it made me so happy that she ended up with the Prince Charming, Travis, instead of Warner. Because it's like, if a guy drops you that fast without hearing your take and trying to hear both sides, and then immediately goes with your stepsister, I'm sorry. You don't deserve that kind of guy in your life. You deserve better. Because that's just low, that is horrible, and yeah, you definitely deserve better. Especially if that guy claimed to have loved you. Clearly he did not love you enough if he's willing to drop you that easily and then move on to the next girl. Just no. So yes, super happy she ended up with Travis, and that they ended up having a lot more in common than she and Warner did to begin with. I like the fact that Emma and Lizette somewhat managed to bridge things. I mean, honestly, after all those years of tension and just dislike and not getting along, and I'd go even as far as to say hatred, things aren't gonna be completely mended. They're never gonna be best friends. It's just, it wouldn't be realistic, at least to me. But the fact that they managed to be civil to each other and call a truce, for lack of better words, I liked that. I mean, like, logically, they're gonna have to live together for a while yet, so it's like, you gotta call it quits sometime. And just, yeah, there's really not much more I can say. I enjoyed this book, I loved it, and I can't wait to read the next one in the series. And yeah, that is it for this book review, and I hope to see you guys next time.